All right. Good morning, everybody. Come on into the Rooted in Progress Stream Center. How you doing today, Terrence?
I am doing fantastic. Welcome back, everyone.
We're back with a loaded episode.
Yeah, man. This is just a hot topic that that's been on the airwaves and about, as we all know, tariffs.
Yeah, but do we know? Because I've been getting. Has a family group chat ever been talking about taxes, and tariffs? It's just weird.
Right.
It's odd. Or getting messages from friends and family, and they're like, "You're in the news. What is this?" And I said, "Baby, I'm learning too."
Really? Yeah. I think it's something that we all need to educate ourselves on because it's going to definitely hit everyone's pockets.
Yeah. So welcome to Rooted in Progress, y'all. We're your hosts, Deanne King, Terrence Middlebrooks here. We love to have fun. Of course, we're going to have fun with this conversation as well, but we got to get rooted in this conversation because our lives are changing daily as we talk about these tariffs and things that are changing and shifting as President Trump makes decisions about tariffs and what we're going to be paying. Because at the end of the day, no matter what happens at the top, it all comes down to you and me.
Yes.
And we're faced with the reality. So as you are joining us, I know some folks are going to be listening to this a little bit later, but if you are on our live right now, we are doing a live Q&A as a part of this episode. So if you have any questions, head over to the WFLA Facebook page, drop those questions because we can feature those questions right now on Rooted in Progress. If you are listening to this episode live, we'd love to answer those questions for you. Before we get into our phenomenal panel, me and Terrence just want to talk to you. We want to level the playing field and make sure everybody knows what we're talking about when we're talking about a tariff. And to break it down in the simplest way possible, tariffs are just taxes. They're taxes on goods that come from out of the country. We all know everything we buy ain't from us. Right? It could come from China. It could come from different parts of the world. And a lot of our goods really come from China. Right, Terrence?
Yeah, we're not talking just, parts. We're talking food. We're talking produce. We're talking, parts. Even though you may say, hey, made in America, the majority of it probably is or assembled. A lot of that stuff comes from overseas. So it's going to affect, again, like I said just a second ago, it's going to affect every single human being, throughout this world. So we got some heavy hitters in here today to talk about that and to kind of educate us all. I mean, I know it's on every single news outlet, media outlet.
Sure.
If you turn on the TV, you listen to the radio, you're going to hear something about it.
Yeah.
So that was one of our main things. When we sat in our Monday meetings, we always want to bring you the hottest and latest topics. As you know, to those fellow listeners that's been with us from day one, we try to keep up with today's topic. It's tough, but we can't ignore this any longer.
And so what happened this week, it was this big announcement. We had it all on our newscast yesterday, was this 125% tariff on Chinese goods, right? Yeah. And so when you're hearing that, and I know the news, it goes so fast, right? Or maybe you read a tweet and you're not really comprehending what that means. To simply put this, a 125% tariff or tax rather on a Chinese good would mean, let's say typically it's $10, right? You're talking about something that's $10, 125% would mean you're adding a $12.50 increase on that good, now making it $22.50. Now, who's paying the $12.50? It's the country. The country is paying that tax to get it to us, right? But then ultimately the buyer, right? Let's say the entrepreneur has to take on that cost, which now means the $22.50 might now cost you $40 in the store where you're buying it. Right. And so ultimately by these countries and by us taking on these extra costs, it's us as consumers who are really taking on the biggest impact. So
okay, look at you doing your research.
Doing a little homework.
Okay, Deanne King.
Period.
Journalist, financial guru, right?
Not quite, but I do have one here with me in the studio today. Let's go ahead and introduce our phenomenal panel today. We do have Miss Natalie Freeman. She knows all things finances. She's an investor advisor. You have put in a lot of work over the years to even hold those titles. And so we can't wait to to get into this
Yes.
conversation with you. Thank you for joining us and joining us on Rooted.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, everyone.
And then we also have Miss Pamela Thompson, who is the founder, CEO. She is the owner of a local beauty supply store, My Shade and Texture. We are so honored to have you, even virtually, right from your store. How you doing today, Pamela?
I'm great. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I want to start with you, Pamela, because I think we see all of the numbers, right? And everybody's trying to like grasp and get a hold on things. And when we talked a few days ago, you were like, Deanne, I'm already hearing from some of our vendors who are raising their prices. So how is this affecting you as an entrepreneur?
Oh,
Loaded question.
I feel that it is definitely a loaded question. I getting started started my business right before the pandemic shut down the city of Tampa was just a wave going through so many different challenges. To me, this is just another challenge. And what I'm doing is just being in constant communication with my vendors, whether they're local or national vendors, and just trying to stay ahead of the game to absorb as much cost as possible because I'm a consumer as well. I'm shopping locally. So just trying to keep that line of communication open. Being very strategic with our purchases while also promoting one thing that has always been our number one mission, and that is promoting a refill culture. So it encourages refills versus repurchases. So if we can save $1 for our customers and for ourselves as well, that's what I'm here to do and keep going.
And I love that for you. And I think you do have such a unique story when it comes to My Shade and Texture and how you all were even founded. Tell us a little bit more about your background and how you were able to get your business off the ground.
Absolutely. So while working full time for the U.S. District Court here in Tampa, I had a itch that, I wanted to be an entrepreneur, loving natural hair care, creating my own products and knowing that there were others out there, pretty much bridge those two worlds of beauty supply and DIY. So from the very beginning, as I said, we opened our doors in November 2019, and then in March, we got the orders that we had to shut down. So I had to quickly pivot and think ahead and forecast. So we implemented curbside pickup, we implemented virtual shopping and consulting for our customers. But most importantly, we did provide refill options. So we've been doing refills since 2019, and it has pretty much become the highlight of our store for our local customers here in the Tampa Bay area and those who are visiting our area. They're allowed to come into the store, create their own hair and skincare products, and then come back for refills or shop online for those items. But those particular items, some items are made here in the USA, but some are sourced from outside of the country, whether it's through direct purchases or indirect purchases from our distributors and manufacturers. It's going to be a trickle down effect as far as pricing, but my goal here is to absorb as much cost as possible because of that refill option.
You used the word pivot. How do you pivot from this? And I think you just gave us a little sample of it, but yeah, how do you pivot from this, Pamela?
Shrinking. So being able to provide the necessities for our customers. So I am community driven. Our customers pour into us. We work with different community organizations. A year ago, maybe a little over a year ago, I actually downsized from a space that was twice this size. So it was kind of like I saw something coming and I kind of prepared in advance because I did have some local businesses that closed their doors, brands that we were working with directly. So that was a huge impact on our business. And so, you know what? We have a lot of customers who are coming in to refill. So why not it really expand on that? So we offer a hair collection. So you can come in and get your refillable shampoos, body washes. So that's how I've been able to pivot. Again, going through the pandemic, that was something that whether you were a new business owner like myself or a vet in the business game, no one was prepared for the pandemic. So I like to say, if I can survived that, I can definitely survive this.
Absolutely. And I love that energy too, right? Because I think at this point, even as a culture, we've been pivoting for a very long time. You know what I mean? I feel like it's innate. It's in our blood to do so. And I want to bring up the conversation, especially of natural hair, right? And I love that your brand and your business caters to natural hair, but you once sold weave. And I know we have people of all colors who listen in and watch us. So I'm talking about your tape-ins, your extensions, your all of the things that affect a lot of people, no matter what you look like. I think we're going to see a price increase and even just the extensions that we wear and the wigs that we wear. Right, Pamela?
Oh, yes, definitely. I no longer sell weaves and braiding hair. I do partner with local organizations that actually we're a drop-off location for unused natural hair care products such as braiding hair. But I've heard from vendors who I no longer have a direct relationship with. But yes, those prices are going up, whether it's hair that's being imported from China or India. Those costs will go up. So it may force some consumers to really think about, do I really need that wig? Do I really need this braiding hair? Or to really embrace, the under hair care. So that's what I'm hoping to do.
How do you feel like people are going to, how can they prepare for that? I know one of the things with the tariffs, the first thing that's going to hit our pockets is probably produce and groceries and all that. And then later on, you'll start seeing the imports of technology and probably such products like hair. How do you prepare for that? Or do you see, people are going to start flooding your stores going more natural? Do you see people maybe going that route? I mean, because I know hair weave is expensive right now.
Baby, look, y'all want to see my receipt from a couple weeks ago?
Wigs are it's like, the cost of a house nowadays. So do you predict like people are going to start going the more natural route or what?
Well, some people may say that, going natural, or I like to say returning natural, because we were always natural. Returning natural
yeah.
like a phase. But to me, I've been on this journey since 2002, not to show my age, but I really think that for those who use wigs or wear wigs and extensions, it's going to be a sacrifice that they have to make and a decision, because some women and men use extensions for other reasons. It could be for medical reasons. They're suffering from traction alopecia. So if I have to make this investment, to care for myself, to make myself feel much better, that's a sacrifice that they may have to make, or it may force them to now do it themselves.
Yeah.
Which is, again, one of the reasons why the Blending Glow Bar was birthed is our DIY station. Some people like to do it themselves. So you may have to reuse, if you're purchasing human hair, you may have to reuse that for quite some time and take care of that hair.
Yeah, before you think about buying more bundles. I want to bring in Natalie, because we're on this topic of like, how do we prepare? How do we budget? Because budgeting isn't new. It's not new, but now is it being forced, do you think, with this new thing about tariffs coming about?
I think the entire movement is just causing an awakening in general.
Right.
Planning should always be a part of our daily routine, for budgeting for our children, for work-life balance, right? But now that tariffs are on the scene and it's causing an awakening to the increase in prices, people are more concerned. And so they are looking for ways to budget. But this is not new. Tariffs are not new.
Right.
Yeah.
Budgets aren't new. Financial planning is not new. And so I hope that this is a shift so that we can improve our processes.
Well, when you say tariffs aren't new, and we know that, but this particular season, you've heard that word over and over and over and over again. What make this this go round different?
I think it's how high the number is.
Yeah. I think it was the jump.
Have we seen a 125% tariff on a Chinese good?
I think it was the jump, and it was intended to get our attention.
Yeah.
Going back to the 30s, They had an increase in tariffs. We don't realize because we forget as well. And so Americans in general are tired of the pushback. We're tired of being pushed around as far as how much we're paying, to receive the imported products. So Trump, in response, said, we're going to raise the tariffs because our tariffs have been the lowest, because you also have export tariffs as well. So our tariffs have been very low for a long time. And so thus the increase, not sure the calculation of how it was calculated to do such a strenuous increase that was going to cause such a jarring effect on the market and the economy. But here we are. And so, yes, it's now in our face and everybody is paying attention.
Yeah. And I think it's those numbers, like when we're looking at, I know there's some other countries, they have a 10% baseline tariff where you hear 10%, that might be more easy to digest. Yes. It's when you're hearing the 125% and what that looks like. Now, according to President Trump, right now, he knows that this is going to impact us, Americans as a whole, a lot right now as far as our wallets are concerned. But he says eventually it's actually going to be better for our economy. And I think it's going to be a waiting game for us to actually see, I don't even want to say necessarily the positive impacts, but more so not the fact that we're trying to figure out our wallets and our situation. So speaking of our wallets, what do we do?
Well, and the main thing is, speaking of our wallets, let's talk about our 401k. Let's dive into that, because we all know that those that are invested in 401k and stocks took a big hit a couple days ago, which I know as last night, or was it Wednesday night, which was last night, things have kind of jumped up.
In the stock market,
Yeah, in the stock market. Where are we at right now? And should I be in a panic,
Well, let's just go back just for a second. Long-term play is really important, and we respond to media because it's in our face.
Yes.
And so we needed to have something happen. For the last 2 years, we have been managing inflation. In the last 2 years, we were wondering if we were going to go into a recession. Right? So we never really quite got there. We got to the place where we were going to manage inflation, but now here we are with the tariffs, which is a threat to increasing inflation again. And so what has been proposed is to level out those costs long term. So everything we need to be thinking about, we get, again, very emotional about this, but we really need to be thinking about how it's going to affect us, not just today, but also tomorrow. The market is moving. The market is volatile. Growth was already projected to slow anyway in 2025 because we've had decades literally of amazing growth. So it's time for a correction, y'all. What goes up must come down. But now we're talking tariffs, and now the market is responding to that. So Terrence, in response to your question about our retirement funds, because now it does affect everything, how much we're going to budget. Even in financial planning, a part of your paycheck, goes to your retirement savings. So people are like, am I going to be able to save now? Now do I need to save more because my retirement account balance has fluctuated? The question is, or the answer is, it depends. If you are retiring in 10 or 20 years, again, this is a long-term strategy. To bring economic strength back to the U.S. is a long-term play. So we're looking at fluctuations now in the hopes that everything is going to bounce back later. And we are optimistic in the financial industry that it will, but it is going to take some time. What do we do right now? Adjust your plan. If you don't have a plan, this is now time to get a plan.
That's it right there. Now, what about our folks, not even age-wise, but maybe success-wise, they're ready to retire, or maybe they have plans to retire this year. What should they be doing?
Very good question. Again, so a time horizon is a big factor in how you plan. If you do have a long runway, I call it, then we have time to brace for the bumps, because the roller coaster is we're not going to get off the roller coaster, y'all, anytime soon. So buckle up good. But if you are retiring this year, perhaps you do need to make some adjustments if you are concerned about how much the market is going to fluctuate right now. I try to tell people, again, goes back to planning. If you're retiring this year, planning should have started about 5 years ago. But if you are retiring this year or even perhaps in the next 365, you may need to look at shifting your investments, definitely honing down on what your expenses are going to be and how the impact of inflation may impact your cost, and just really settle into how you're going to make the shift and just stay afloat.
Yeah.
You also have to realize, though, all the money that you have invested or have saved for retirement is not going to be used next year.
True.
So you will need some money in retirement. So I always encourage people to segment their dollars and break it down into long-term goals, midterm goals, and short-term goals.
Have your phones been ringing off the hook at your office and people just reacting out of fear?
Fortunately, my phone has not rang in a lot.
Oh, wow.
I really try to educate people about the volatility and the movement of the market, and trying to focus on a plan versus on performance in the market. So thankfully for our office, it has not. We've had some scares and we manage those. I really want to acknowledge that this is a scary time in general.
Yeah.
And so we are here just to answer questions, but it hasn't rang a lot. But most importantly, the calls that we have gotten, half of them have been for the opportunities that exist in this market.
Yeah, I was just about to ask about that, because if you're an investor right now, should we be investing? What should we be investing in?
Well,
where should I be putting my money?
Let's say this, and I'm just going to bring this up because you've heard this: the rich gets richer, right? And especially with a market that took place the other day, it calls people to what? When the market's low, you do what? You buy.
Buy low.
You buy.
Buy low.
So although we're kind of got this cloud of fear over us, there's a group of people out there that the sun is shining
they're
bright
ready to buy
on them.
They're ready
and
to invest.
Their eyes are this big and they're ready to dump a bunch of money. Should we look at it that way?
Absolutely. Let me just jump on in here.
Let me say this. As the history of the financial world in the Black community is lacking, educate us. Educate those that don't really know, those that are out there that are listening, that has X amount of dollars in the bank and don't invest. Now, is this the time to do it?
So please understand, I'm not here to promote any product or service specifically, but let's just talk theory. Finance 101 always says we buy low. Human emotion, though, says when the market is low, I have lost my money. So first of all, we must put things in perspective. If you have not sold any of your holdings, whether it's in your retirement, 401k, 403b, your IRAs, or even just your regular brokerage accounts, you have not lost anything. But what you do have an opportunity to do is assess your portfolio, find what you love, what is quality, and buy more. Yes, the rich get richer during this time because they understand that I can get all of these amazing companies, whether they're domestic or international, on sale at a discount. Right? And
that's through stocks.
And that is through the purchase of stocks, what you own, or even the bond market is what you loan to companies who are trying to expand their enterprises, and they borrow money and they give you a stated rate of interest for the borrowing of that money. So this is the season. And what I love about this, we can talk, right? Because the African American community is and has been for a very long time the largest consumer in America.
Right.
Yet we are still in the minority as far as who is investing in those same goods that we love so much.
That's good.
I am trying to educate people now that instead of wearing, own it.
Yeah, say it again. Hold up.
Or wear it and own it. Come on. Own it and wear it.
Yeah.
The market has given you an opportunity to get in.
Yes.
It's called a drop in valuation. It doesn't level the playing field because, let's be honest, there's probably always going to exist a wealth gap.
Yeah.
However, the principles are still the same, and you can get in where you
fit in.
Right?
Pamela, where Pamela at?
Pamela right here.
Pamela, how you feel about this? Like, are you having these same conversations with yourself or with your business partners? Like, as an entrepreneur already, clearly you invest. You chose to invest in yourself, maybe invest in other brands and companies that are within your store. What's your mindset in regards to investing more right now?
So Natalie, you made a great point earlier. You mentioned that, we've gone through inflation. So trying to survive that and then now going through the tariffs and going through investments. Yes, I'm work closely with a financial advisor. So I'm fully aware of what's going on the business side and how it affects me personally and my household as well. So we're just being just kind of budget conscious and just being aware of how our spending will affect both here at My Shade and Texture and at our home. So I'm not just trying to do anything crazy right now, trying to keep the investment where it is now, just watching the market. And again, just being in constant communication with those who may know more than me.
Yes, And Pamela, if I can just applaud you, she said something, because as entrepreneurs who are also consumers, they have a task at hand.
Yeah.
They must make a decision whether to absorb the cost or pass it on to the consumer. And you can argue both sides, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're in a for-profit business, you have taken time to calculate your profit margins and what is going to be the cost that you break even or actually make some money.
Right.
And for you to say that you are going to absorb those costs is very admirable, because again, you have overhead, you may have employees, and you also have your personal P&L
Right.
that you also must manage. So that is very laudable. But at the same time, we can also understand if people may want to raise prices to, spread the cost, if you will. So that is what entrepreneurs should also be doing at this time. Look at your pricing models. Look at what sells. Look at what may be infected, however, more by the tariffs and the increased inflation demand for your products. Those are the things that need to be assessed right now so that you can make those decisions.
Yeah, I want you to expand on that, because we actually have a question from a viewer, Jason Radcliffe, who he wants to know, what should small businesses be doing to prepare? And when you look at a small business owner, no, we're not talking about the Apples and the Targets and all of these chains and these big stores, but what about a Pamela? What about a small business owner? How do they? What should they be doing right now?
Jason, thank you for your question. It's a very important question. I am a proponent of preparation. So one of the things I do in the Tampa Bay community is I mentor CEOs. I mentor businesses. And one of the things that we are working on right now is understanding your financial statement. A lot of times, because small business owners are in the throes, right? You are the CEO, you are the CFO, you are the concierge, you are the transport, you are the receptionist, you are the custodian and the postal man. So you don't always have time to be acquainted with your numbers. However, right now we're teaching our clients, our business owners, how to read those statements so that you can determine those margins, so you can determine what your cash flow needs are and what you may project them to be. And you need to look at worst case scenarios and best case scenarios so that you can prepare. A lot of times we're balking and we're rolling our eyes about layoffs. Again, people are sometimes have to go into survival mode to remain sustainable or to remain profitable. So what you do to prepare? Make sure you understand your numbers. Make sure that you have employed a team that can help you understand your numbers and look at your projections. Ask the questions. No questions are dumb at this time. If you didn't know what a tariff was yesterday, you now know today. But your next question is how is that going to affect my business? And make sure you have what I call your dream team in place to make sure that you have the plan. And that's how you plan. It's breaking those things down segment by segment, looking at the what if scenarios, even assessing your competition to make sure that you remain sustainable and in the game.
That's a good word right there. We also have another comment. This comment's from David. David asks, will companies look elsewhere to buy products? Would you shop around to try to find the cheapest?
Pamela, what about you? Do you think you want to try other vendors? What are you going to do in this predicament?
Oh, yes. I try to keep a wide range of different vendors available, whether it's through packaging, through labels. The problem lies where, yes, there are a lot of products that can be sourced here and made here right in the USA. But let's just say for our shampoo and our conditioner, there may be certain ingredients where it has to be sourced outside of the country. So that's where I'm at now, just trying to make sure. There's been times where I had to pause on restocking or repurchasing certain materials because the cost was extremely too high or it wasn't available. So just trying to be mindful of those things is just trying to stay ahead of the game. So having a diverse network of vendors, again, both local and national.
Diversity is key, Pamela. And just as Pamela just said, labels, packaging, products, all can be tariffed.
Yeah.
So you're not just talking about a tariff of the end product. We're talking about tariffs on the components of the product. So these are things that business owners are now having to recalculate,
right,
to make sure that they, again, are going to be able to remain in business. So
yeah, you look at a restaurant, right? And so the end product is your ribeye with a glazed asparagus thing with a ricotta, whatever. But it takes all of the ingredients that are now being tariffed and taxed to create that meal that you're eating. And so, I mean, that's a really good point.
Delivery.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a really
so
good
real
point.
quick, before we get into our next question, even for those products that can be purchased here in the United States, there's a huge cost difference. It's the reason why you do get them exported in from other countries. Is that correct, Pamela? Do you ever face anything similar to that?
Oh, yes, definitely, where the cost may be much cheaper to get it sourced outside of the country. Again, whether it's going direct or indirect through a distributor, the cost may be much cheaper outside of the country. And again, I'm just a small business. I order and purchase things in small batches. But for those mid to large businesses, I'm not sure how this is going to impact them. But one thing I do want to point out, again, I spoke about shrinking. And so to speak to those business owners, this may be a time where you have to sunset certain products just to provide the necessities. Again, whether it's downsizing your actual retail location or the type of products that you offer to your consumers, listen to your customers, look and see what they're purchasing, actually speak to them directly or review your sales report. So those things that are not quite moving, maybe it's time to sunset them so that you can save on costs.
That's true. And Terrence, really what you brought up is that's the problem, and that's the issue that I think President Trump is even bringing up, is the fact that we're going to Shein and Alibaba and all of these things that are being sourced in China, where you can get that T-shirt for $5, but then you look at an American store and it's $25 here and ain't nobody buying it. So now he's saying, okay, cool, I'm gonna add this tariff, and China ain't charging you $5 no more.
Yes.
That shirt is now gonna be $15, and now you can make a choice between paying $15 for the same shirt you used to spend $5 on, or you can go to the American store and choose to pay $20.
Yep.
So I literally think like what you just said, Terrence, is why we're even here today. It's that push. It's the push and Trump trying to force us to bring the funds and make everything more domestic in here in the country.
I just thought about this joke David Chappelle had said about,
oh Lord.
We'll keep it moving.
I'm about to say we about to get canceled.
we'll
about
leave
to
it.
get canceled.
Look it up if you guys don't know, if you know what I'm talking about. But
all right, we have another comment. Looking ahead, what should investors or business owners be paying attention to over the next 6 to 12 months? What's the most pertinent thing right now? What comes to mind to you?
You know, again, proponent of the plan. Anytime media creates a story,
you better watch it.
Want to react. Sorry. If we have a plan in place, and financially speaking, let's just take the financial plan. Usually we bake in downturns in the market, change of administration, costs rising and lowering. So unless you have a life event that has changed your mind about how you want to move, or unless your risk, you're like, you know what, I thought I could take a lot of risk. This thing done made a believer out of me now. Let's dial it down a little bit. That is really the only reason you should be changing your plan. If you don't have a plan, again, eye-opening moments in history, now is the time to have a plan. Next 6 months, 12 months, look at what you intend to spend. Rethink, is it time to remodel the house? Will you be taking as many vacations? Look at your sales force. Look at your operation staff. Will you need to go lean? On your business models in the next 6 to 12 months, y'all. This is not going away. As you know, we're trying to bring back business in the U.S., but if companies are having to retool to expand or to scale, they're already saying that manufacturing companies are going to take 3 years just to be able to embrace or being able to have the capacity to produce here. Yeah. So in the next 6 or 12 months, which is very short term, look at your spending. Make sure you have your cash that you need for what you consider priorities. Yeah. And look at what you may want to push off and consider making long term.
So Natalie, for those who who do not know how to, plan for those 6 to 12 months or going forward, what is some of the advice you would give that for people to take the first steps into doing that? What are some first steps into doing that?
Whether you're a business or entrepreneur, business entrepreneur or an individual, right, in the community, right, family, the financial statement is literally the foundation of everything. What inflows do you have coming in? What sources of income, right, through working, jobs, side hustles, Social Security, pensions, veteran benefits? Go ahead and assess that, inventory that. Make sure you understand what you have coming in. And then your outflows. What are your fixed outflows? They're not changing no matter what happens. You will still have to have lights. You will still need to brush your teeth and get toothpaste. Period. What are the period? Very right? Essential. Don't make that optional. So you want to go ahead and assess those and see if there's a shortage, meaning that you're going to have a gap, or if you're going to have a surplus in funds. Now is the time to make those adjustments. It really starts there, just understanding your cash flow and your needs, but then it also lends to opportunities. Where are the opportunities to make more money in this season? Because again, y'all, in every market, there is an opportunity to make money. Is this the time to start writing that book? Is this the time to go ahead and transition to that dream job that you always wanted to have? Or is it now the time to retire and say, hey, let's go ahead and downsize, move out of the,
you're right about
the penthouse
that.
And go on to the east side. Maybe to the west side.
I don't ever talk about or share what I do outside of Channel 8, right? But I do invest. And I will tell you, all of my investments happened in the pandemic.
Again, that's when,
all of them.
When the market was low.
It was a
all
pivot.
All of them happened during the pandemic.
It was a pivot.
And I feel like there are two sides. There's like two stories to the pandemic. It was like, man, and of course you feel for people. It's like, man, this pandemic screwed me. Yeah. And some people are like, man, this pandemic changed my life for the better. Yeah.
The increase in entrepreneurship in the Tampa Bay area, it will even in the U.S. increased during the pandemic.
I was one of them.
Specifically for African American women. Yeah. And so again, looking for those opportunities, y'all, because we are a resilient people. I love that Pam has a plan. Yeah. She's looking at sustainability and refills versus repurchasing. I love that, so again, she's going to go back to her plan.
Right.
To retweak the plan if needed. Some people are like, you know what? I have a good plan. And I hope today we can help you take the emotions out of your decision making. Fear usually does not drive good decision making. So again, this is what we need to be looking at.
Yeah.
Your fears, your concerns, your cash flow.
So to kind of go back to what you were saying, now is not a time, or is it now a time to purchase a house? Is now a time to look for a new job, or thinking about transitioning to a new position? Are you telling those people, or are you advising that just stay put, be patient, and let's just kind of see where this thing goes?
I'm advising to assess your situation.
There you go. Gotcha.
A bull market for some may be a bear market for others, and vice versa. This may be an opportune time for someone to downsize. So they are going to have to sell their home. Well, guess what? There may be someone who just got a raise, who just moved into town from California to Florida, which has a totally different economic structure, and they can move into that house with ease because they had cash on the side. Or they just, liquidated an asset to acquire another one. So it really does depend. Financial advising is not cookie cutter. Economic decisions are not cookie cutter. It really does depend on your goals, your time frame, and your available resources.
Yeah. Right. And we're all consumers. Like all of us, if you strip all of our titles away, everybody on this show right now, we're all consumers. So we're all going to feel it from a professional side, what we do day to day, but then also what we do just day to day in our own personal lives and what we buy. And so it's funny how you talked about like preparing and deciding what's now important. Am I going to buy the 30-inch bust down weave wig now that it's $100 more?
The 30 down bust down.
Let me tell y'all what I did. Let's get into hair since we have Pamela here. So I use
which is also important.
Very important. I use a woman down in Miami. Her company is called C3 Hair Imports. Shout out to you, girl. And she actually had a sale on her hair, on her extensions last month. And I knew that I really wanted some new hair. So what did I do? I bought that hair while it was on sale before I knew these sales was going to hit. And so I think because, again, I would have had to look at, all right, Dan, you might still be wearing the same color and the same extensions that you done had for the last year and a half, because weave is already expensive. People ask me all the time, Dan, how much do you spend on your hair? The hair
it's an
itself
entire budget item,
is $1,000.
What?
It's a stack.
It's how much?
It's a stack. $1,000.
Terrence was like, what?
I'm over here.
It ain't been colored. I'm talking about the hair itself. It hasn't been highlighted, it hasn't been colored, and it hasn't been installed. And we've already spent $1,000.
I'm spending $50 on a haircut.
See,
or not 50, about 40, $45. But
so
still,
I think you bring up a good point even earlier, Terrence, where you were like, are people going to go to natural? But I will also want to say, and I think Pamela can retweet this on my end, natural hair ain't cheap either.
It's not. Under here, just got this done. Yes, I had to pay the lady.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
this is just in preparation for the next phase.
And you have to, the upkeep of natural hair,
Yeah.
you can do a little bit
true.
more to a wig without the fear of damaging your natural hair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when you're talking about your natural hair, I'm going to that stylist a little bit more to take
And it's
care
not
of my hair.
necessarily cheaper.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And there's a lot more maintenance.
It is very much.
So I do know.
So I think like what's important right now for people to make those decisions, okay, do I need to go ahead and invest in something maybe right now before things really do hit?
Very good point.
Or am I just going to have to alleviate and move away from how I used to live life?
Again, looking for the opportunities. Are there opportunities in the market to buy low?
Yeah. Did I used to go into Publix with just vibes?
See?
And buy whatever.
Now there's a list that accompanies DMK.
Now there's a list and a BOGO ad.
And a BOGO ad. Listen.
But then there's also maybe looking at other options.
Opportunities, though, for generational wealth is right now, too. When we're having these conversations, are we buying low? Bring your families into this. Let's sit down. Let's talk about really what our priorities are. Can we spend more time together that is not, that is more cost effective?
Yeah.
Are we going to look at now community college versus, first and then transition? all of these things can, come into play right now, but it's a great time to bring your families in to have these conversations, get them involved.
Well, I can tell you another thing too, is that the cost of food in these restaurants has gone up. It's cheaper to just cook at home.
Yes.
I could buy a really nice ribeye steak for a far cheaper price that could feed more people than I can paying for 4 or 5 dinners at a one restaurant, know.
True.
So
very true.
I'm glad you said one restaurant. I was waiting to see what restaurant you were going to say, and I was going to judge you based on that restaurant.
Look at you.
Watch it now.
I was waiting. I was like, what restaurant you was going to say?
Okay,
I really don't have a big favorite restaurant.
You don't? Oh, okay. Good.
That's a whole nother show.
Okay, right. Okay.
Hey, before we wrap this up, I want to, Pamela, tell people how they can support you, where your store is, and how people can support you moving forward.
Okay, perfect. Yes, you can support us in store at 4202 East Bush Boulevard, just a stone throw away from Busch Gardens, a few minutes away from the campus of the University of South Florida. Or you can come, yes, or you can shop online because we do offer curbside pickup, shipping, and delivery. Our website is our name, www.myshadeandtexture.com. Again, you can shop online for your refill options. You can bring in your own containers and create your own hair, skin, body oils, scrubs, lotions, room sprays, you name it.
So not only you getting product, you're also getting experience.
Yeah.
I love that.
Absolutely.
That's great.
www.myshadeandtexture.com.
Folks, check her out. Now, Miss Natalie, tell us a little bit. First off, you got a big event coming up next week, and then also tell us how we can get in touch with you as well.
Absolutely. And again, thank you all for having me today. This has been so great. Such a pleasure. It is my passion to empower our community. So April 15th, tax day, that's special to me because I used to be a tax lady. Now I'm a money lady. So April 15th at the Entrepreneur Collaborative Center, we are collaborating with All Heart Foundation and Roger Silvera of New York Life. We're going to be talking about wealth and protection and why those two need to be together and married together. It's going to be at 6 p.m. It's a virtual option you have to view virtually or attend in person. Entrepreneur Collaborative Center, that's April 15th. And if you want to come visit us, we're right downtown at 442 West Kennedy Boulevard. You can always look to our website too, www.edwardjones.com/Natalie-Freeman. Happy to help, happy to advise, happy to empower.
We kind of got a session today.
We did.
Y'all owe us, okay? We want that cut.
Free. And the one word we haven't said all day today, that this information is free.
Hello.
People love free.
Hello. Somebody.
That's right.
Well, hey, thank y'all for joining us. So we're always here getting you rooted. Make sure y'all are good. We got your back, okay? If anything, y'all know we got you, okay?
So always.
Make sure you like, subscribe, follow us on all the platforms. We're talking about YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Just search Rooted in Progress. Meantime, y'all know we're here every Thursday, 9:30 in the morning. I'm kind of curious. I want folks to tap in and let us know if they're liking this new time frame. I think they are. So I'm feeling that. And make sure you follow us on Instagram and on Facebook as well.
Yeah, guys. Well, I'll tell you what, if this is something that you love today, let's just be a little more prepared on just what's ahead. Guys, get out there and educate yourself. Listen. Don't just read the headlines while you're standing in the grocery line.
Yes.
What they call back in the day, the tabloids. So, educate yourself.
Yeah.
Again, we just gave you Natalie Freeman's information. You go visit My Shade and Texture. The information's out there, guys. Just study up on it, and it's just all about being rooted.
Stay rooted, y'all. We'll see you back here next week.
Take care, guys.